the most broken people. Can be great leaders.
First, I have to say, looking at the poster, knowing what we saw from the trailer, folks are going into this thinking that you guys are antagonists, obviously. But I think they're going to be surprised to see y'all bring a lot of different shades to this relationship. Letitia, talk about that, because you and Tenoch, y'all share a lot through this film, and what you both are going through is something, I think it's the same sides of grief.
Yeah, it's an approach that's not typical. It's much easier to say this is black, this is white, this is bad, this is good. Mm-hmm. But with the script that Ryan gave to us, it's more complex than that. There are personalities that are more complex. You know, we meet one of the oldest characters of the MCU, of the comic books, and he's filled with wisdom, and we see them go on that journey. It's not what people would expect, but there's a lot that people shouldn't expect and should expect, and November 11th kind of says it all. But it's but it was a complex but really cool journey to explore that with Tenoch, because yeah, man, he really pushed me to the edge.
Well, I mean, look, we see it from the trailer. You're talking to each other and you're very much stating you're going to protect your homeland. You're going to protect Tenoch. But what I think is very interesting is how much you are trying to seduce Wakanda through Shuri, and how much you were trying to, if you cannot get them on your side, it goes to war. Talk about that, because I think that aspect of the relationship, you know, I might call him Mr. Steal Your Girl Namor. I might, just a little bit.
Man.
No, it because for him it's a natural ally. You know, it's natural. It's like, okay, we went through the same thing. You know, we have the same threat, we have the same enemy, and in a way, we share the same wound. So for him, it's natural to make an alliance with them. But then how they solve the problem is different. And of course, he's more than 500 or around 500 years old. So he tried everything. He saw everything. That's why after half a millennia, he said, no, there is just one solution, you know, because he went through different deceptions and, you know, scenarios, and he was witness of the war. Yeah. So it's like, okay, girl, there is not other way. That's why he's so practical, you know, but it's like, it's the same.
Yeah, practical, but the same, to your point. Letitia, I will say this. Coming into this one, you had so much going on, so much both emotionally and then the task at hand. But I do have to say, this man gives a stare. He gives a stare. What was it like seeing him in like all of his glory for the first time in some of these very intense scenes that y'all have going together?
Yeah, man. The first time seeing Tenoch was really, really powerful. I always remember like when it was his turn to be on camera, the first introduction of Namor in our film, and I was trying to give him my eye line and hold it together and give as good as I'm getting, and I just kept looking at the monitor like, dang, this is good, like this is amazing. So he's just another addition to what is a great ensemble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is an ensemble, and Ryan really talks about how you guys built it together. It was a group effort, and he told me a story yesterday. You were not at the interview he did yesterday for SAG, which is like the award that they won last time when Black Panther was up, but Ryan confessed that you, Tenoch, and the other folks from Tenoch were actually responsible for this whole thing, and that y'all were the ones that said, the Wakandans have this, we got to have our own thing. So you got to tell me this story.
Yeah, we have this.
So, but this was from y'all. Y'all like went up to Ryan. So talk about that conversation and how, like, I think gracious he was to do that.
Yeah, well, we especially, well, I'm a passionate guy about my history, you know, my roots in Mexico and Latin America. So I knew some things from the ancient cultures, how respectful they are, and some signals and whatever. So we decided to do this to find a kind of identity, saluter, and I think it's really accurate. And by the way, we have these advisors. They are Mayans. They grew up in Mayans community. They are professionals, and they provide with all the information, all the background to create this fantastic world, and made it the most respectful way.
Yeah, no, and that was actually what so many people have remarked on, is just the grandeur, the colors, and the richness of these worlds that you all are living in. And I will have to say, so much of that was imagined on set. I know you guys are not knowing where this stuff is when you see it, but one thing that was always present and is such a big part of this was the relationships that you guys dealt with and each other. And what the first film dealt with, fathers and sons, this one definitely deals with mothers and their children, and that sort of like eternal mother love. Yeah. Talk about that one and this one, because especially it's not a bad gig to have Angela Bassett play your mom when you're going to do a really intense mother-daughter performance.
Yeah, not bad at all. It was, again, just Ryan's mind and alongside Joe Robert Cole, just tapping into the lives and those characters that were so close to T'Challa, and seeing ways in which they have to navigate this new path without him, without their baba, without their husband or father, and it was just a relationship that, in those moments, those are the relationship that gets tested the most. Yeah. You get to see who's really there for you and who can really comfort you. And I feel it was brilliant to have Angela on set, because it was also not only helpful for Shuri, but helpful for me to have that mother figure of nurture going through this process.
Yeah. And it's Angela Bassett. Real talk. We will get justice for 93. Thank you both.
Thank you
so much.
They came from the water. They had superhuman strength.
He's coming for the surface world.
That can't be good.
First of all, let me just say congratulations on the film again. It is incredible. And I want to talk about Nakia. I want to talk about so many things, but there's a whole Riri of this, and it's not necessarily Dominique. Miss Rihanna.
It's really cool that she's come on board to sing the song. Rihanna has a certain girth about her persona. And so it's great that she's lent it to this story and that she wrote that song as a tribute to Chadwick. It's again, evidence of the power of what he did with his life.
Very true. And again, that is the thing that I think folks, when they actually see the film and see Nakia and where she is with it, you will see, although there are so many people in this movie that were close to him and had very specific, unique relationships, their relationship is one that this film really puts completely different in a completely new light. And what was that like? Because we learn more of them as a couple in his absence, really, which is interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't necessarily thought of it like that, because obviously when you're playing a character, I'm very much living in it. But it was really lovely to see the evolution of their relationship through this film. And it was challenging, to play that role. But I was also really inspired by Simone Edward, Chadwick's wife. I remember seeing her at his memorial, and wow, she was just working with a different kind of strength. And she really inspired me. She definitely did.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, because there's a kinship. Obviously, they were playing his love interest on screen, and obviously I know that the foundation, I saw his foundation was part of the credits last night, and obviously his presence was throughout the film. But you weren't alone in this. You had Letitia, you had Danai, you had Angela. And I talked to the ladies earlier when I was sort of talking to Danai about this. You all sort of formed a bond in that. And that was part of the process. I think Danai said it wouldn't have been possible to do this if it wasn't all of you all coming back and doing it together. So talk about that.
I mean, there's no way. There's no way we could have done this if it wasn't to do it together. Because when we lost Chadwick, we were all in isolation. And he was such a central part of this story. So it was only because I took heart in knowing that I would be on a set with people who understood the loss that I was experiencing and were experiencing it themselves. Yeah. That's both cast and crew, core cast and crew. So we really did lean on each other to get through this.
Yeah. I read, and you've told me when you read the script, you went through a range of emotions, like reading it, both, weeping and obviously feeling emotional for what was on the page. But then also, I know you've confessed to me that there was some frustrations in your early days with the script. And I do have to say, it's so cute seeing you and Ryan talk about it, because Nakia in this story is not where everyone else is with her grief. She's at a different level.
Yeah, and she I guess has access to more information than other people. And so, she's just further along in the grief process than, say, Shuri or Okoye. And I wasn't feeling that further along. When Ryan gave me this script, I was kind of like, damn, man, do I have to know how to handle this? But no, I'm grateful to him for giving me this task, because she actually, playing Nakia, helped me get through my grief and it gave me a place to put it, and it felt constructive to play her.
I want to add this too, because like so many other asks, you also, of all of the Wakandans, I think, spent the most time in water. Uh-huh. And you had to do that with weights. And so I've heard if it's not worse than kids and animals, it's water. Like it nearly broke the abyss and water world, and here you were.
The water of it all. That was a challenge. Before this film, I was an amateur swimmer, okay? Yeah. And I had to get comfortable with the water. I did swimming training, and I also went further to do this training called extreme performance training, where you work with weights underwater. And I remember seeing this video of someone walking underwater with like 20-pound weights. And I thought, I'll never be able to do this. And in like a week and a half, I was doing it too. And it really helped me with my breath capacity, but just to find comfort in water, because you need to be very calm in water in order to succeed. And I never imagined I would act underwater and take like directions. So it was really useful, and I felt really prepared when I got to set.
All mothers gave us this spear because it is precise, elegant, and deadly. It will not change under my watch.
General Okoye, it's Danai Gurira. I just have to say again, thank you so much for this film. Your performance in it is absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
I will start with this, which is, you have, I think, so much going on in this film, but I'm just going to start with that bridge scene because, ma'am, again, like, I've seen you do swords, I've seen you do spears. The casino scene from the very first movie set a high bar, but you and Alex go at it on that bridge in a way that even goes higher. So talk about that, the physical demands of that moment.
It was no joke. Thank you. It was a lot of work. As I was saying, I was very keen to get into it quick. When I read it on the page, I was like, oh no, what are we doing here? I need to know, we need to start working on this now. They're like, no, we're gonna do some vibrato, you gotta get into the drills. I'm like, that's cute, we'll do that, but I need to be working on this because I know on the day I have to be ready. And so it was a lot of work, and it's actually it's very interesting. I still trying to debate how it exactly it was so intense, that fight, in terms of learning it, and how, as I said, there was some the shoulder at some point started to say, you know what, I've spent a lot of years taking care of you. You better start taking care of me. So I really learned about my shoulder. Learned how to take care of it and help it out. It got little tears here and there, but the work had to be done, and it was very crucial to me that you saw this encounter in its fullest form, but also that you saw, her intentions, of course, was to protect these girls, and their intentions were what they were. But, it was very important to see these two, and also, kind of game meeting game in those two characters who are both kind of the equivalent of each other in their various kingdoms.
Yeah, I'm going to ask him about the second half of that game meets game and trust. I think it's going to be good. Also, you mentioned the women in this, and obviously Dominique is a part of that, but more particularly between Lupita's Nakia and then Letitia, Shuri, the three of you ladies together are in this film so much, but also as the three of the four female veterans from the original installment coming back to it. Yeah. There's a bond that you guys show on screen that I've seen echoed outside of it. And I just think that probably was the only way y'all could do this movie, was leaning on each other to come back to do it. I'd love for you to talk about that, because it's something I've gotten a little sneak peek on, and I just think more people need to see it.
No, yeah. I mean, we're sisters, and it is very, very much, it was crucial to be there for each other during this process and to lean on each other. I remember many a time leaning and going into, someone's trailer and just talking about something, figuring something out, praying over something.
Yeah.
And praying over everything, really, because it did feel at times very challenging walking through telling the story, and there was a lot that we were dealing with in terms of our own grief and how to navigate it, and not sometimes you don't even realize it's grief until one time Ryan had to explain. He's like, "You've just described your grief," and I was like, "Oh man," and I think Okoye was similar. She doesn't even realize what her grief is, and it was the parallels were kind of insane that way. But yeah, we needed each other more than anything. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's almost an uncanny valley that you guys had to be acting in this when you were living in so many different echoes and chapters of it again. And so when you see the finished product, I think people need to appreciate there is a melody playing underneath this that is not necessarily seen on screen in every moment, but you guys are always fighting through it. It just makes the accomplishment that much higher. And so I do have to say, as you sort of look at this, especially with General Okoye, who learns a lot of lessons in this one, what do you think were the biggest lessons about grief that you guys took from this experience and these performances?
Very much that ultimately you've got to surrender to it. You've got to let go. Oh, wow. And I had to do that, and she had to do that.
This is a hard junket to be a journalist with, y'all. I am so serious. I'm glad y'all have makeup artists to follow y'all around, because I'm just making it here. Next, I want to talk about some rereads, because there's a couple. There's a couple this time around. There's Riri in the music, and then there's Riri on screen. Yeah. And so now I've only seen the movie twice, and there's too many moments.
You've seen it more than me.
But Riri Williams, I will say this, on top of Rihanna doing the sound, she was somebody who you're talking about, not just protecting her, but I feel like if there was a joy that y'all needed on set, she brought it this time. Talk about Dominique and what she brings to that one.
I was so excited for Dominique. I actually get a little emotional when I talk about Dominique, because she's so special. Her actual story, which, folks need to know, and then the story of her character. And I think it's just what she's going to do for girls, for Black girls, for Black women, just like how smart and amazing her character is. But I don't know if people realize she's Ivy League educated with biochemistry or something. I don't know if people realize.
She could have been at the Jet Propulsion Lab just as easy in a Marvel movie.
Exactly.
Oh,
it's just incredible. And she's a first child from her family to go, first person from her family to go to college. This girl is incredible. Yeah. And then when she came on set, I would act with her, and there's a scene where she's getting upset, and then the camera's supposed to swing over to me, and I was just laughing. I was like, she is so good. I was just cracking up, and I was like, dang it, because it was a wonder, and I was messing it up because I was like, I can't tell, she's so funny. She's just so funny, but the character, it's rooted in a character really just taken in this world and trying to survive, with what she knows, and so she's not trying to be, she just is. And so I just found her just delightful to be around, and I'm just so excited by her story and how the world will learn about her and as a person, but also in this character that she plays so well. I think it's the impact of her character is something really great.
I love, you literally light up talking about her. Literally light up talking about her. So.
I'm not even done. I could go on about how amazing she was as a support system when we had bad days, and what a beautiful soul and spirit she was, and how she'd pray for you and take care of you in those moments. It's amazing.
I love that.
She's incredible.
They have lost their protector. Now is our time to strike.
I will say this again. Just congratulations so much on the film.
Thank
It
you.
is literally incredible. I've now seen it twice.
Oh, cool. How was the second time?
The second time was interesting because I could like calm a bit. Like
Yeah.
that was the part of it that was very difficult. And
Yeah.
the second time viewing was also when I saw more of the little touches, especially of Tolokan, the parts of Wakanda we didn't get to explore in the first one because we only got limited time with it. Talk about those details and
Yep.
the craftsmen that you worked with Hannah
Yeah.
and with Ruth and
Yeah.
really everyone that I know you had to work with on this and the advisors.
Yeah, no, it was great. A lot of detail into the film. A lot of detail went into the film, I should say. And like with indigenous cultures, I think that, especially like in the medium of film, so much of what happened to us, and by us I mean anybody who comes from a group of people that's been like colonized, marginalized historically, the details were scrubbed out.
Yeah.
You know, they were simplified, ignored, you know, not mentioned, you know. So like for us, we take a deep sense of pride in our duty to focus on the details.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like to get the little things right, like because a lot gets lost in those details. You know what I'm saying? Like in fiction, that's popular, that comes from a Western bent. You got like Tolkien, for
Yeah.
example, who will go build a whole language and whole lineages and whole, you know what I mean? Like he wasn't glossing over those details, and we've had, you know, centuries of a century basically, like, you know, of a lot of resources being thrown at filmmaking from that perspective.
Yeah.
You know, and we feel a duty to like this. We got to make that right with this
Yeah.
one. You know what I'm saying? And I had the people, the craftspeople to do it. Like I had Hannah Bickler and Ruth Carter and the folks over at Visual Development at Marvel. You know, I had the right producer. You know, like and Kevin and Nate and Victoria and Lou. They encourage it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so we were able to get, you know, every detail right in Namor's headdress, and we found.
Oh, they were peeping from the trailer. Like from the
Yeah.
trailer, people were already spying everything that you put into it.
Yeah. So I mean, I think for us, we take a lot of pride in we happy to go that deep. It makes us happy. You know?
Yeah, I will say last night at the SAG Q&A before you guys walked in, we had a woman from Haiti. She talked about, I know those types of beaches. Like she literally said, she's like, I felt like I walked into a movie and I didn't expect to go home. And I think it talks to the collaborative effort that you guys put forth in this.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing too with all of this is you put all these details in what we see on screen and all these rich collaborators, but then within the relationships and within each individual one, you still
totally.
found ways to take it further.
Yeah.
If the first one was fathers and sons, mothers, and the eternal mother love is like a huge part of this one.
Yeah.
And I think you said this in one of our interviews, like you had to bring everyone back with something to do. And when you brought Angela back, like I have to just feel, having seen the film, I feel a part of that was I want justice for 93. I want justice for what love's got to do with it.
That's funny.
And let me just ask you, like,
funny.
that's what I felt. Was that part of it? Because you gave her a lot in this to sing with, really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she can handle a lot. Like she one of those kind of actors who's better with a lot to do. You know what I mean? The more you give her, the better she's gonna be. She was built for like Shakespeare. You know what I mean? Like it'd be like having the best engineered sports car and just leaving it parked somewhere if we didn't do it the right way with Angela. And it was alarming for me because like I remember when we were making Panther 1, I had a conversation with Nate, who has a sister. I don't have a sister. I got two little brothers. I inherited sisters when I got married, you know, and it's fantastic. But we were looking at a scene with Shuri and T'Challa, and we turned to each other and said, "Hey man, how many movies are there about brothers and sisters?" And he said, "Well, You Can Count on Me was great." And then it was like, "Man, what's the other ones?" And then we couldn't really. We two guys that watched a lot of stuff. It was like we couldn't really find like you know, and they're out there. You know, we eventually dug some up.
But not that many.
But not enough, right? Like for a relationship that's so common. You know what I'm saying? Like so then in this one we did the same thing for motherhood. You know, and it was like, yo, how many movies about motherhood? And it was like, you know, it was like kind of like,
especially when it was us, when it's us.
Yeah, like now they're out there. More movies about moms than brothers and sisters. And I've seen some incredible ones since we had that conversation. Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Lost Daughter, one of them, which was fantastic. But It's like, oh man, we got what an opportunity. You know, we get to tell a story about this foundational relationship in life, not just humanity. You know what I'm saying? Like this stretches to the animal kingdom. Like this idea of like
take care of your kids.
Yeah, but also like this idea of like mothers being dangerous. Like if you camping and you see like grizzly cubs, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like you know you in a bad spot. You know, like you gotta find where that mom is. You know, like or you in trouble. You know what I'm, like that just that concept, universality of this relationship that you know is tender and fierce. You know, at the same time. You know, and if that relationship isn't right, then people struggle. You know, and so it was exciting. Like it's like, oh man, we get to make a movie about motherhood, like in this comic book context.
It was exceptional, man. And yours goes into the pantheon. You've already talked about this. Is there other films that you really looked at into this one? Because you, I know, are a cinephile and like
it was tons.
Yeah,
tons.
Was there, just give me a couple real quick as I get out of here.
Tons. I mean, like I could talk movies, but I can also I'll talk TV for a sec.
Okay, just give me a couple before
Fargo
these
season
people
2.
Kill me.
Fargo season 2.
Fargo season 2.
Yeah, Fargo season 2 was a big one. Terminator 2 was a massive one. Big giant action movie about a mom. And a follow-up to another fantastic film. Contact was one. Very ambitious scientist questioning her faith. The Two Towers. Lord of the
Rings, Two Towers, yeah.
Lord of the Rings, Return of the King also. The Abyss was big. A lot of 90s Cameron.
Yeah.
You know, Abyss, Jurassic Park, just for scale and philosophy. But really scale, I thought that's like the best scale movie. Yeah. Like visually, like showing like just big animals. You know, we got elephants in this and whales.
Alex, Mabel, I just have to say thanks again. We're gonna get to spend some extended time, which I'm excited about because finally get to talk to you two together and just say y'all kick so much butt in this movie. It is absolutely incredible. And I love that even though you guys were joining something in I know a strange moment, they just lost their leader. It's a cast full of people who knew him well and you're coming in as the newer cast members. But you guys found a way to bring community even in that. Yeah. And Ryan was telling me the huge part about how you guys and Tenoch came up with this. Like, that is just so cool. Alex, I'd love for you to tell that story, especially about how you guys said, we need our Wakanda forever.
Yes.
Listen, I want to start saying that we would not be here today if it wasn't for the Black Panther. Yeah. The Black Panther they knocked down doors. And everyone came through, and it's such a personal and special movie for so many people that to be part of this, to be introduced into the Marvel universe in this one is very special to me. And the Wakandans, there's such a tight community, and the term Wakanda Forever, it's so strong, and there's so much pride in it that we're like, we have so much similarities to Wakanda. We need our Wakanda forever. Yes. So after having conversations with our language coach, which to find the correct translation, we came up with Talocan rices, which, it's very essential because we live at the bottom of the ocean. Yes. And in this one, with rice.
And we try different movements for say that. It's like, licking Talocan, licking Talocan, licking Talocan. It's like, okay.
But, we came up with... Licking Talocan!
I dig it. I dig it a lot. I dig that a lot. Mabel, I definitely have to say this as well because your character, she's the perfect embodiment of you can be so few words but so much fierce. Yes. She is just like she says few things, but whatever she says has meaning. And the thing I loved especially is you didn't have to say much because you were doing enough already. You already had everything that you had going on as far as this role. What was the hardest part? Was it the underwater? Was it the language? Was it the fact that this was a big MCU movie? What was of the many physical and mental challenges you had to do? Which one was the hardest to tackle?
Oh my God. Everything a little bit. And actually, I think the biggest challenge was my mind because at the beginning I can't believe it's like, why me? Wow. Victoria told me all the time is, Mabel, you need trust. You deserve be here. So trusting you, and I think that was the biggest challenge, because all the time to me it's like, oh, I don't want to make a mistake in the movie. I don't want. It's like, no, you know what do you need to do, because you work a lot. I spent 1 year training for the movie. I spent a lot of time training physical, mental, with underwater, with the language, with the costumes.
Yeah.
And we was ready for the movie, but the mind sometimes it's crazy.
Yeah, it's
challenging.
different.
It's challenging, and it's such a beautiful moment those days where you're just like exhausted, you're tired, you're annoyed, or whatever it is that's going through your mind. You know, we all have separate lives and things happen. But when you're in those moments and then you see your partner just going through 100%, you're like, all right, you know, they're doing it.
Got to bring it.
Yeah. And then, you know, it's like you pick each other up and you know, we're a team. And not only a team, you know, the teleconeros, but the whole production. We were there for each other and, you know, we lifted each other up.
Yeah, you can really see that bond between you both on and off screen. I've seen you guys in a few guarded moments before, and it's really like family. You walk in, and you know, Tenoch's just like, "Oh, what she got on?" Everyone is like, it's like, you know, family reunion time. But I will say, it's not just with the folks from Telucan, it's with the entire cast. Yes. And part of that, I know, is bonding over the intense fight scenes y'all had as adversaries. I mean, you saying warrior is going to be a thing that the internet is going to be talking about. But I talked to Danai, and she said, she was just like, on top of this being like such an epic scene, there's a scene of you guys on a bridge that I can't wait for folks to see. She said she was so happy because you were so nice about it, because he was like, he wasn't going to hit me hard. Because y'all have to like go at it, like really. So talk about that and how y'all developed that sort of partnership to do those scenes together.
It was a lot of training, very intense, you know, from day one. And it took so long to shoot this movie. Not in the sense of the amount of days, but you know, it's like we started shooting. I think it was in
summer.
And well, no, the first day of the scene, I believe it was late October, November, and then we didn't pick it up back until late November, and
January.
then before Thanksgiving, and then back in January, and then in March. So it took a span of like 4 months to complete this whole thing. So we trained so much, and not only the training, learning the dance, the choreography, but I got to know Danai.
Yeah.
And that gave so much more substance to our chemistry, to trust each other, and I feel so comfortable with her.
I mean, the comfort's on screen because you look like you're about to tear a face off. And at certain points, you nearly do. Mabel, before I get out of here, I definitely want to ask you about the intricacy and the details of the world y'all get to inhabit and the world we get to take a peek inside. But for you as actors, I know a lot of it was imagined. Some of this is visual effects. There's some things you get to see, but a lot of things you don't. When was it that your character became real? Was it the first time you saw her in costume? Like, when was that moment where you're like, oh, wow, like, I am part of Telucan?
I think it was under the water, because I asked Jesse, my assistants, record the screen, because I work like this. It's like, oh, I need to look my face for may add details. And that was the first time while I was like, oh my God. This is huge. This is amazing. Oh my God, it's under the water. It's a big. Oh my God, it's crazy. It's crazy because you never watch the movie and see the world. It's like, hey, you can see a straight and it's you're gonna see a boat. It's like a boat. It's Shuri in a boat, and you know, it's like it's crazy. So it's that was the first time that I see. Oh my God, I'm Namora, I'm a warrior, I'm in a Marvel movie. It's crazy. It's a lot of things in mind.
You know, my very first day, Winston told me, listen, you're going to have an idea what this is going to look like. You're going to read the script. You're going to read all the details, the description. But once you see the movie, you're going to be like, whoa, I literally had no idea that this is going to look like this. Yes. And he was absolutely 100% right. Because when I saw it, I was like, yeah, I really had no idea what this whole thing was going to look like coming together.